I'm Rich Steeves, web editor at TMC here in Austin, Texas for IT Expo 2012. And right now I'm joined by Robert Messer, President and CEO at ABP, and Joseph Tsai, Regional Manager at Draytek. Gentlemen, welcome to Austin.
Morning.
Now, Robert, tell us a little bit about ABP and why you've gone into the router space.
Well, as a company that was specialized in IP, basically telephony, and in the later years in IP surveillance and video, we found that the router was something that was sort of neglected, it was forgotten, it was something that got put in at some point with the service providers, but then really it didn't have the capabilities that companies needed from an infrastructure point of view to support all the things that people wanted to do with IP. In today's world, the service provider or the MSP has to basically create a robust environment that can allow for these all in the cloud applications and maybe high bandwidth cameras pushing things up while voice is going through the same system all at the same time. And there had to be too many patches put into the system with boxes and systems to try to sort of make things work with quality of service, but it was just too complicated. There were too many issues. So we felt that the router needed to be attacked, by the reseller to start with a solid underpinning. And we started looking for a product that would fit into that space, that would really help us give the resellers or the service providers when we work with ITSPs, the right foundation for the services that they needed to provide.
Excellent. Now, Joseph, tell us a little bit about why your company chose to work with ABP.
Yeah, because we recognize that ABP is the leader of the IP-based products distributor in the American, and ABP always select the best of the breed products in the world, just like our products. So when we categorize our products is for the prosumer market, that's the reason why we select ABP to be our distributor partner for the United States.
Very good, thank you. And Robert, from your point of view, why did ABP choose to work with Draytek?
Well, there's two classes we saw the world sort of split into two classes of routers when we started to look at it. On one side, we had a plethora of consumer type devices. Their focus was on really being inexpensive and, but they really didn't excel in many areas. Maybe on the gaming side, there were some really good products, but that's not what we needed in the business space. And then on the business side, we had very expensive routers that were great for large corporations, but if you were going sort of in this middle business, 25 employees, maybe 50, they were too expensive. Especially the licensing got really complicated. You had to go with the partner that sold those routers specifically, but maybe your trust was in another partner. So it was hard for them to really, attack that. What we found with Draytek is Draytek has a product range that's sort of right in that middle space. We categorize them as a prosumer device. And we know that really right now we're sort of in this age of consumerization of IT. So the consumer products a lot of times are better than in specific aspects than the commercial products. But then they don't have all the commercial aspects. So what we found with Draytek is we had that great price point of a more consumer line with simple licensing, but at the same time it had a richness in features that was exactly what we needed. Also, they were a company that were great to work with, so some of the things that we needed for some of the service providers, we could actually get they got our input and they were very responsive of helping us make those products work. So that was kind of the main reason. From a product point of view, we needed something that was going to give people reliability, because if all of our business processes now depend on the internet, it has to be reliable. We wanted something that people could add in redundancy if they wanted, where they could have multi-WAN, where they could have maybe tie in 2 or 3 different systems together, maybe have Time Warner as a backup to their DSLs or wireless, and they needed to have the ability to do that easily. Then there were requirements like we wanted voice to work, because if you have clipping in your voice, then basically the whole concept of IP telephony fails, right? And if you're doing video conferencing or just video cameras, then you got to manage the video streams too, and you have to be able to do both, because if people start looking at the cameras while they're on a phone call and the phone call doesn't work, right, we got a problem. So basically those were the aspects. And then we, as we got deeper into it, we discovered, sort of, I kind of think when first you fall in love with something, getting attention to it, right? So, and then you actually discover more of the good. So one of the things that we discovered in Draytek was also they had a fantastic content management product built right into the router, which meant not only that we could protect companies in the sense of sort of managing what employees would watch and do, but we could also sort of keep bandwidth from being wasted, and we could protect the company from not having like rogue accesses. So it was it was a real great security product. At the same time, we could help the productivity of employees and the bandwidth stay under control, all within the same product. So it grew on us.
Well, here at IT Expo, we love to look forward to the future, so I'd love to hear what you see in the future, both for Draytek and for the router space. So, Joseph, can you tell us what's in the future for Draytek?
Okay, Draytek is very famous for the small business customers, and recently we have a new product to be launched and has been launched for the medium-sized business customers, which we can assure them that to earn the mission-critical bandwidth management features and the comprehensive VPN features, the novel VoIP utilities. So in addition to that, we also offer the central management services for them, so they could do remote management over their multi-endpoint CPEs or the branch offices.
Thank you. And Robert, how about for ABP and the router space in general?
Well, two things. I think that we're going to see a big shift in the next year or two, especially with IPv6. Pretty much everybody knows that we're running out of IPv4 addresses. We have to go IPv6. Draytek put in a tremendous investment in IPv6. So all the routers have like the dual stack, they're IPv6 enabled. We have an IPv6 lab at ABP where all of our products are actually being IPv6 tested. We're working with a service provider that has IPv6, so we're really kind of in there. So that I think is going to be big. And then of course, like Joseph was saying, there's the ability to manage networks is important. Monitor, manage, and configure remotely is important in the small business space, especially when the companies are working with a managed services provider that actually is helping the company with IT, networking questions. Maybe they got hacked and something happened. Who's going to fix it? How fast can they get that service? Some system got out of control and is sending packets and is swamping, basically just crashing their network. Who fixes it? How do you find it? That stuff gets really complicated these days, and you have to have experts, and most small, medium businesses can't afford those. So if you have a managed services partner that can actually reach into your company, into the router through a secure portal without actually having to drive there, and can then help you detect what's going on and shut down the ports that are creating the problem, that's a great feature. Draytek has a product, basically a software platform, an in-the-cloud platform, that's a management tool for the service provider, for the managed service providers. Their ACSSI platform, which we're actually offering free for people that buy like a minimum of like 10 routers this year until the end of the year, and then they can subscribe to it later on. And we think that that's the future. People need that, and even smaller, let's call it smaller, large companies, that have like maybe 50 branches, 100 subsidiaries, like little, some kind of retail outlets. They have their own IT department that needs to reach out to those locations. Since the platform that we have is like multi-tenant, it's structured, you can actually have a co-working or coexistence between the managed service provider and the IT team. They can actually both reach into it, and you can set all sorts of parameters of who has rights for what, So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Sounds like
we're really
great.
Excited.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you. Robert, Joseph, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.